Great. Thank you so much, Neil. And I'd like to thank the National Academies for the opportunity to share in this roundtable. I'm going to kick off the session here really from a 30,000 foot viewpoint, summarizing some of the wonderful comments that have been made by our earlier session speakers today as we look ahead to the future, and we're reminded of this incredible opportunity that we have at hand to implement innovative strategies that will enable the EHR data to proactively drive patient-level clinical decision support for our cancer care team members, and to provide programmatic level analytics for quality reporting, and to optimize operational efficiencies for our clinics and treatment units. So from the clinician perspective, as oncologists, we utilize a core set of critical data elements within the EHR to assess, diagnose, and treat patients with cancer. As a breast oncologist myself, I mine the EHR to collect and summarize these data elements, including patient attributes like the patient age, menopause status, their germline mutation status, tumor-related attributes such as the TNM staging, tumor grade, relevant biomarkers, and the treatment interventions that have been applied. So why? Well, we need this information not only for clinical documentation, but importantly for clinical decision-making. But the problem is clinical decision-making is still today, by and large, a very manual process. We rely on our memory, our experience. Many clinicians do not routinely access our evidence-based guidelines or institutional care and clinical pathways. Many of us do not routinely assess our patients for clinical trial opportunities. And we also introduce unconscious bias into this process. As previously noted, the sheer volume and complexity of data that we need to guide decisions is increasing. And I'm only talking about the data we use today. Think about all the data we do not use in the EHR, or the potential data we do not yet routinely capture, such as raw data from the patient's tumor genome and multi-omic sequencing, PROs and other questionnaire data, and patient-generated health data from wearables, apps, and sensors. And finally, those evidence-based guidelines and medical knowledge more broadly are really expanding at a truly unprecedented rate. As an example, Dr. Showman brought this up earlier, that there is one new FDA approval or expanded indication for cancer therapeutics each week. And we've been moving with those FDA approvals at that pace for the last couple of years. To put it in perspective, just 10 to 12 years ago, we averaged less than one FDA approval per month. So this model for clinical decision-making simply is not sustainable. What we need is to standardize definitions for those critical data elements. And we need to standardize the templates for our diagnostic reports and our treatment plans. We need to systematically capture patient outcomes and integrate them within the EHR. And this is where remote patient monitoring and emerging virtual care technologies can help us. And then importantly, we need to label those critical data elements in the EHR, whether that's by means of entering the data in a structured format, or what gets me excited is the ability to develop, train, and validate natural language processing and machine learning models that can abstract and interpret these labeled data elements from unstructured clinical notes and reports in the EHR. By simply changing how we collect, organize, and label our EHR data, we can improve the engagement, efficiency, and effectiveness of our care team providers. Now, a synopsis of those critical patient and tumor-specific data elements can be matched in one click with patient-specific best practice guidelines and care recommendations that we can serve up to oncologists at the point of care. In turn, those can drive treatment plans and order sets, including patient-facing digital solutions that can turn those static care plans into actionable guidance and interactive PROs that can facilitate between visit care and monitoring. They can be matched. Those same data elements are present in clinical trial eligibility criteria. And so we can use that matching to identify relevant trials for our patients, giving them not only to care team providers, but to the patients as well. So they're made aware of opportunities and our physicians are no longer the gatekeepers to trials. These data elements, they can automate smart scheduling, so patient appointment time, duration, interpreter requirements can all be uniquely matched for each patient. And finally, we can automate creation of the patient's oncology history, that summary to auto-populate the problem list, the medical history, to provide relevant information for clinical documentation and to drive coding, billing, prior authorizations all downstream. This can help alleviate the cognitive and clerical burden of our cancer care team, the burden that they face on a daily basis as patient health data and medical knowledge continues to increase in volume and complexity. It will help enhance objectivity and help foster health equity when we're developing our care plans. And it will enable providers to spend less time in front of the screen and more time in direct patient care and counseling activities during scheduled patient time. So the more patient-specific data we have, the more individualized these recommendations can become. And the larger this database becomes, the more that data can be used to predict patient outcomes and to help serve up the best treatment options that are going to enhance the chances for cure and drive down the toxicities. Building on this at a programmatic level, having all of these data elements curated for all patients and organized in a robust data analytics infrastructure, we can populate cancer center registries in near real time. And they can become living registries whereby all the labeled data is updated as that patient's condition changes over time. These registries can help with quality reporting, not just for accreditation purposes, but to help support our transition to value-based care and to help inform reimbursement reform. They can allow us to better understand the patients and communities that we serve, and they can fuel critical personnel resources, medical, surgical, and supportive care supply chain needs. They can help us better understand where we should focus our research efforts, and as well to help us better select clinical trials to activate that will successfully meet accrual goals. Finally, they can help support retrospective research that answers relevant clinical questions and provides us with new hypothesis generating insights that can support new lines of basic science, translational, and clinical research. Because research ultimately drives our oncology practice, and it helps us to advance our mission to deliver more cures. So with those opening comments, I will pass the baton off to Dr. Bertinoli.